Hi everyone, it's Tweedle here and welcome back to the next episode of the Atlas of Lauyara. Today we're looking at a very important part of Lauyara because it's where all the lessons we've spoken about so far begin to come together. And this is the settlements of life. Every fantasy world needs places for people to reside, and this is that. Unlike places such as the Crystal Waterfall or the Endless Halls of Knowledge, these aren't places that exist to teach a single lesson. Instead, they are the result of everything that has actually been learnt before. They're where people stop simply surviving and start living together. The settlements of life are established places of civilization throughout the Arboretum. Some are small camps, others are villages, towns, kingdoms, or even great cities. Every single one is different because every single one reflects the people who build it. Unlike many places in the Arboretum, settlements never move. Their entrances and exits always remain in the same place. But the paths leading up to them, however, are consistently changing. I really like the idea that there are certain things in life that become our anchors. Family, friendship, community, purpose, faith. Those things remain even though the journey towards them is always changing because, nothing happens the same way twice. And the settlements are the balance between permanence and movement within the forest. So one of my favourite pieces of world building that I did when I created Lauyara is basically that every settlement of life was once an Eden. At one point, every thriving kingdom, village or city began as a barren piece of land that somebody chose to care for. And over time, that care attracted life, and life became community, and community became a civilization. And that's why the lessons of Eden never disappear. They're simply built upon. In fact, the original Eden actually still exists. It's found at the very centre of every settlement. No matter how large a settlement becomes, the original garden remains, and it's a reminder of where everything began. It is also a reminder of the fact that you will always need to spend some time with yourself and working on yourself. You may have matured to a point where you can do everything else that you once couldn't do. But you still have to work on yourself, otherwise you wouldn't even be able to do those things anymore. Every settlement has a gardener, the person responsible for caring not only the original Eden, but for the people who have chosen to build their lives around it. The gardener is bound to that settlement of life. If they abandon it, the settlement begins to fall. Not because of magic, but because they've abandoned the responsibility that they accepted. The only way a gardener can truly leave is either through death, or because they've reached such a level of maturity that the Arboretum releases them from their responsibility. Only then, and with the forest approval, can they appoint someone who will be able to take charge of the settlement of life. They will take the role as the gardener by name, without actually having to do any of the gardening responsibilities for the settlement, but will continue doing their own gardening duties within their own Eden and settlement of life, if they so have them. And when that happens, something actually really special takes place. The original Eden that the gardener has follows them. Not the entire settlement, just the garden, where that journey first began. It's almost like the forest wants them to carry a reminder of everything they learnt and bring it into the next chapter of their life. The settlements of life represent community, connection, belonging, and shared growth. But more than that, they represent the idea that growth doesn't stop with us. Real growth eventually benefits other people. I've realised that becoming a healthier person isn't just about making my own life better. It's about becoming someone who can encourage, support, and care for others too. And I think that's what the settlements remind me of. The lessons we learn, they're not meant to stay with us forever. They're meant to be shared. Within the philosophy of Lauyara, the settlements are proof that healing and growth have a purpose. The Crystal Waterfall restores us, Eden teaches responsibility, and the Endless Halls of Knowledge teach humility and learning. And eventually, those lessons become something bigger than ourselves. They become communities, places where people can belong, can support one another, places where life continues long after one journey has begun for one person. Some settlements flourish for generations, and some struggle before being restored. Some even fall before being restored, and others fall, or eventually fall, to never be recovered. And just like real life, the future depends on the people who choose to care for them. I think one of the cool ideas I've got behind the settlements of life is that they actually remind us that we're not actually meant to do life entirely alone. Personal growth matters, but eventually that growth should reach beyond, ourselves. It should strengthen our friendships, our families, our communities, and the people who come after us, because I think that's what a flourishing life really looks like. Not just becoming a better person, but helping other people flourish as well. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Atlas of Lauyara. I really hope to be able to speak on the paths of treachery in our next episode. So I shall see you all then. Goodbye.